a lot of improvement this year, so good work on that. There are a lot of really nice things. You're really getting around the instrument well, shifting very, very well. But there's one thing in particular that I wanted to talk to you about. So, do you know what a Sicilienne is? Have you talked about it with your teacher?
No.
A Sicilienne is a kind of dance, and it's a dance in 6/8. I mean in 9/8, right? So there's this ta 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 ta. This is like the sort of trademark rhythm of a Sicilian. So it's really important that that rhythm is always, you know, nice and buoyant and floaty and stuff. But there's something I want to talk about before that. Can you just play the very opening? Good. So that's great. That's great. One thing though is, I look over here and you have a tenuto mark over the third note. Boom, 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 boom. What does tenuto mean?
I don't know.
So tenuto in Italian means held, which, you know, what does that actually mean, right? But this is, you know, one of the tricky parts about what we have to do as musicians. We have to interpret, right? We have to figure out, you know, what might it actually mean? And I think part of what you're the big part of your interpretation of it seems to be that it's separate from what comes before. So I hear, my attention is drawn more to the space between the notes. But what if you actually forget about the space? Focus on holding that note, like the word says. Connect it more. Give it a try. Good. So try not to actually stop the bow. In other words, you sort of pick up the bow out of the string, but it never really stops moving. Good. Now, so there's no tenuto on the second one, right?
Oh.
So that one, and that's fine. I mean, it might be, let's follow what the music says, right? Part of what we have to do is not just read the markings, but also see when there aren't markings, and when, you know, you have music that looks the same, right? Quarter note, eighth. One time he writes tenuto. The second time he writes just a slur, just a simple slur. So can that feel really legato? Just play that slur. Yeah, so you're doing a stretch, which is fine, but you're letting your bow get disrupted because you're doing this left-hand stuff. So I see here, and then your bow does this herky-jerky thing, just do. Beautiful. All right, so now you start up or down bow.
Up.
Okay. Make them sound different from one another. Can you try that? Good. So I think the articulation is a little bit better. It's a little bit more clear. It tells us what's important and what's not important. Because I agree with what you played just then. I think is more important than this, right? So articulation really does have a lot of meaning in the way that we think about the phrases, right? So there's another thing that's really important. Your vibrato is pretty active throughout this piece, which is great. But I find that sometimes it's not active where I would want it to be active, right? Sometimes, and this is true for everyone, we vibrate where it's like the most convenient. You know, like, well, that's awkward because I just shifted. Right, and then extension, no vibrato, and back, vibrato, right? I think it's really important because of this bouncing rhythm, ja, da, 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 sha, da, sha, that the beginnings of the note have a little bit of vibrato impulse. So I just want you once just to play. So you know the little burst of energy you have at the beginning of the bow? Can that also happen here? So right now I hear, it's sort of one-sided, your right side, right? But can it be, can you try that? Yes, yes, and release the sound sooner. I hear, but that doesn't sound bouncy to me, right? That sounds not exactly flat, but it doesn't have that same kind of bloom, right? So if I just forget about my left hand, sink the bow in, just to start the note. Fast bow, heavy bow, slow bow, light bow at the end. Just do that on open D. Yeah, keep the bow on the string. It's okay. On the string. Yes, exactly, right? So you can take the weight out of the string without actually picking up the bow, right? Don't worry about my D. It's probably different than yours, which is fine. Stick to your guns. All right, let's hear your open D. Right away. There you go. Sometimes I hear you kind of get into the sound late, right? Make sure you sync right away. Pa, not whoa-pa. Good, good. Now, can you add your little left hand burst? Aha, wider vibrato try. But don't forget your your right hand now. You're going faster than you were before, right? But that's not the tempo. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right? This is a really common issue when we practice, that we're like really focused on something, but then we start practicing it the wrong way, because it's like the wrong tempo or the wrong feeling, just because we're like obsessed with, I don't know, intonation or something. Always remember to keep that tempo. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Give it a try. Wide vibrato. Okay. Sink more deeply. Whoa. Okay. Beautiful. Now. Sound that you're producing. What's the dynamic at the beginning? Piano. Okay, so maybe let's back off on how deep we are, but still get the same shape, right? We can still do the same kind of shape without having to do the fourth instrument, right? So try it one more time and keep it all in a nice piano. Let it all be buoyant. Every bow is a U shape. Alright, so here's just another thing. And I know I'm harping on some details here, but when I hear your vibrato, first of all, I'll just lay it out. I think it's a little too fast. And the reason why I think so is because I'm hearing the whole piece in this kind of It's not like, you know, it's the opposite, right? So maybe your vibrato can match that kind of feeling. I hear a little bit like, and it feels a little bit like, a little nervous. Just slow it down, let it get wide, give yourself a nice, tasty cello vibrato. Can you just try an absurdly wide vibrato? Slow. Yeah, now you're melting. So make sure your finger is solidly on the fingerboard. And you can vibrate super wide. Yeah. So no matter what you do, it's, you know, spend some time slowing down your vibrato. We're always inclined to speed things up, to try to just go. But actually the character here, I think, is calmer. It's all right. There's nothing up there. Every note as beautiful as you can make it. Don't forget about the small ones. Can you try this phrase again? Really focus on that bouncing quality of the sound. This comes from your bow, right? Those U shapes, wide, slow vibrato, and just luxuriate every note. Absolutely beautiful. Slow vibrato. Good. So I think that's a lot better. Now you just have to work on this. You know. Just imagine that you're out on a little sailboat. Swinger. Easy as can be. No storms, no hurricanes. Alright? And we can work on that a little bit more. Alright, so, okay, thanks. So, I mean, it's really quite nice. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is when, you know, here about this opening passage, this passage that starts to kind of explode up to the forte, I think you can sing more, you know, whatever the notes are. Can you play from, which is piano? Sorry to interrupt. What's the dynamic there?
Piano.
Oh. Good. Hang on. What's the dynamic?
Piano.
Oh. Sounds the same every time. So what are you going to do to change the dynamic? Besides just say, yeah. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Just less pressure on the
Yeah. There are other things you can do, right? You can use less bow, you know? You can do a little bit away from the bridge, maybe. There's lots of things, right? So the three things that affect the sound over here in the right hand are weight, that's vertical, right? Contact point, sort of the horizontal, and speed, right? That's sort of the third dimension. So, can you come up with a really special sound for that? Good. Now, where does the crescendo start?
Here.
But that note didn't crescendo at all. You try to do it all, these two measly sixteenths. So, how are you gonna crescendo on that note?
More pressure, more bow.
Yeah, maybe not more pressure, because I don't think that you want it to be, you don't want it to become that. But maybe just faster bow, like gradually faster bow. So, and then this G is the fastest bow, right? Remember, when you use more weight, the sound becomes more dense. So you don't want to necessarily be because then you start to feel like it's not buoyant anymore. It still has to be whatever the names are. Can you try one more time? So start with a really special piano sound. The crescendo is a lot better, and it makes it more exciting, because we're not just... That's kind of a shock, but when you get... Then the audience is actually following the trajectory of the sound, right? And that's what you want. You want them to feel, you know, the height of the peak, right? They're not just gonna like helicopter to the top of the mountain. Say, oh yeah, we're here. They have to go up, you know. Okay, so I know we're running short on time. So, can we just start the second bar 12 here? And for this, I think, first of all, what's the character of this piece? You know, well, listen to it. What does it sound like? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it mad? Is it happy? Okay. What about it makes you feel happy? Is it maybe the bounciness of the
bounciness, the crescendo before the forte?
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of happy. I don't know if I would use the word happy, but I would encourage you to really, you know, listen to it. You know, get your YouTube and hear as many recordings as you can, and just imagine a feeling. And if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, just imagine. Well, no, it sounds like someone just like won a prize. No, it doesn't sound like that. You know. And go through it and just keep listening until you find an emotion that makes sense to you. Because here it changes. Right? Totally different sound. For me, this is kind of serious at the beginning. It has almost like a proud feeling. Almost defiant, almost like, you know, I don't know. You see what I mean? So what is this then?
It's like more upper.
Yeah, I think so, somehow. It sounds sweet to me. You know, we don't have this. This is now in a different region of the cello. Maybe it's not even the same person, you know what I mean? Maybe it's a different voice entirely. Can you play that with this in mind and try to create a sound that we haven't heard yet? So the second phrase I thought had a very nice character. The echo. Can the first phrase be a little bit more similar, but just a louder version? I fear that for you, forte is coming across like with a lot of effort. It sounds like you're like showing off or something. I'm not sure that that's the character, though. For me, that feels more natural. And then you have this cute little echo. Try it. Good. stop you, but that low C, isn't that an important note? It's not as important as the G, but check it out, you're doing this. Play that too, but there's no vibrato, it's like no expression for that one note. It's like for a split second, just go, you know, it's kind of awkward. Stay in character the whole way. One thing is that you lost a little bit of that buoyant bow that you had in the beginning, but there's progress there. I'm hearing some differences. Really focus on the articulations and how you can keep, first of all, you have to know what the character is, figure that out for any piece that you do, and figure out how the character changes during the piece, and how can your sound actually produce that, right? And you can be your own boss this way. Listen to your cello, you know? You don't need a teacher to tell you that, like, that is not a happy sound, right? And you don't need a teacher to tell you that this is not the sound of someone who's extremely angry. You know? So find those sounds. You're already plenty creative, you know, but try to focus those creative powers to make something that actually tells a story to your audience. Because you're playing this piece really well, but I'm not feeling the communication as easily as I could, but I can tell that you're feeling it. You just need to translate those feelings into your cello. Can you do that? Cool. Great job. Beautiful playing. Such a pretty piece. All right, who's the next victim? Oh, you're welcome. Sounds great. Good work. Great to see you again.